So this journey begins with a situation in America. However, a world away rests the world's most crowded island in the world. Yes, this is none other than the town of the Santa Cruz Island. The island is so poor to the extent that it's very usual to find someone working out on a daily basis near a dog's pool. But in fact, it's impossible to find yourself alone on the streets of the Santa Cruz Island. But how come? How is this possible? Well, my friend, everywhere you turn, you're just colliding and knocking yourself with other people. But let's further ask ourselves, let's further find out how big actually is the size of the entire island of Santa Cruz. Well, shockingly, the entire island is just about the size of one football pitch. In fact, if this doesn't scare you, then listen for this. This one football pitch alone is a permanent home to about 12,000 people on the entire island of Santa Cruz. Further, the majority of the population here are just children. So everywhere you turn, you get to collide into streets full of children playing soccer. But wait a minute, such things and more pushed me into a 4 weeks research journey on the world's most clouded island, the island of Santa Cruz. But what I found out was so shocking, so make sure you hit the like and subscribe button as we dig further into the findings of this incredible research. Firstly, let's first ask ourselves, how is the housing situation on the island of Santa Cruz? My friend, for example, in America, all the streets are dominated by skyscrapers and all sorts of fancy mansions. But however, the housing situation on Santa Cruz is so shocking. Further, the housing on this island is so devastating to the extent that you find about 10 people living in a tiny room or in a tiny house of one room. To further scare you, these 10 people have got only 3 mattresses and 3 beds to sleep on every night, every day of the year. But how is it to do laundry in such conditions? Well, even though you might see some washing machines, my friend, the island has got not enough electricity to run these machines. Further, even when people get to wash their clothes, they are left with no choice but just to leave them in the same room where they sleep in order for them to dry. My friend, all the houses here are illegally owned. But what does this actually mean in the first place? Well, on the island of Santa Cruz, there's no authority to regulate over the housing, my friend. Instead, people just get to construct houses any way they want, wherever they want. So what happens in case you fail to get where to build, my friend? The only choice is to build a house on top of your friend's house. Therefore, everything concerning about housing is as simple as that. Let's further ask ourselves, what was this research able to find out about the street life or the town life on the tiny island of Santa Cruz? My friend, for example, in America, everything is about next level technology when it comes to street light, especially Las Vegas and New York. But what this research was able to find out about Santa Cruz, my friend, will drop you onto tears. Firstly, the entire island is made up of only one single town. But how does this town look like? Does it have any streets? Does it have any cars? Shockingly, there are only 3 streets on the entire island, my friend. To shock you further, there isn't any single car on the entire island. There's no saloon at all in the entire island. You simply get to find barbers cutting their hair in the middle of the streets or at the verandas of funny shops. But how much do you think the rent is on the Santa Cruz Island? How about what are other utilities do you think you have to pay in case you get to rent a home, my friend? But how do you think actually it takes one to cross from one end of the town to the other? Well, my friend, shockingly, you just need only 2 minutes to walk from one end to the other end of the town, and then the town is finished. Full stop. Yes, it's very true, the Santa Cruz Island is just surrounded by water. But what is the situation of the water on the entire island, my friend? For example, or in comparison, 95% of the Americans have got access to fresh and clean drinking water. Sadly, however, the situation in Santa Cruz Island is much painful. Even though it's in the middle of the lake, the water is still warring. my friend. In fact, people only use the fresh water for drinking, then other activities are left and disregarded, my friend. Rainwater is the only source of fresh water that can be used for drinking on the entire island, my friend. With such a situation, not even a single drop of water can afford to be wasted. Surprisingly, it takes about 8 months with no rain, yet the rains are the only source of drinking water on the entire island. Therefore, when the rains come, it's time for partying, and this can mean extreme joy, as the island will be in position to get some fresh water which they can in turn use for drinking. Well, so how is the situation of social services on the island of Santa Cruz, my friend? For example, in America, there are about 6,120 well-equipped and well-staffed hospitals. Further, there are about 750,000 restaurants in America. Furthermore, there are about 400,000 churches in America. But what is it like on the island of Santa Cruz, my friend? What do you think is the state of the social services in the Santa Cruz town or the Santa Cruz island? Well, the figures are much more horrible and worse. For instance, there's only one hospital in the entire town. Also, there's also one restaurant in the entire town. Further, there's only one church in the entire town and the entire island. And then also, surprisingly, the entire town or the entire island has got only 3 markets, my friend. But is this all we can find out about the wonders or the worries of the island of Santa Cruz, my friend? No, the conditions are still there. So let's also first investigate what did this research find out about the health services on the island of Santa Cruz, my friend. As earlier shared, there are about 6,120 hospitals in America. All these are still well equipped and well staffed to the point that you can ever imagine. But the health services in Santa Cruz, my friend, are among the worst in the entire world. The health services are so bad, in fact, that there is only one single hospital in the island, and this single hospital is the birthplace of everyone that can be found on the island. Shockingly, there's no baby that has ever died during birth, even though the entire island has got one hospital which is at the same time poorly equipped. I think we can see that these people are actually blessed. Even though there's only one clinic alone, the average life expectancy of people of Santa Cruz is about 80 to 90 years. Compare this with your country. After doing the comparison, make sure you let us know using the comment section. But let's still investigate. Let's still ask ourselves, what is it like to get married and have a family on such a crowded island of Santa Cruz, my friend? When it comes to love life in America, there are about 62 million legally married couples in the entire country. But a world away on the Santa Cruz island, the story is a complete opposite. For example, at what age do you think do girls get married, my friend? Shockingly, most of the girls, they get married at the age of 16 years, and even their children, they also get to get married at that age. But further, let's ask ourselves, what kind of marriage do they go through? Is it illegal in the first place to marry off a girl at 16 years? My friend, how is that marriage being approached, my friend? Things like getting officially married are nowhere in the entire island of Santa Cruz. Also, it's the order of the day to have children with multiple partners on the island of Santa Cruz. In fact, there's just free union around the entire town. In fact, everywhere you pass, you just keep seeing people joking around with each other. But let's push further with the research about the world's most crowded island, Santa Cruz. For example, let's ask ourselves, what is the mobility, what is the movement like on the entire island, my friend? For example, or in comparisons, Americans are well known of being great travelers across the world. Things like holiday travels, family and friends travels, etc. are well known and characterized with Americans. But most people on the Santa Cruz island, however, are born and they die without ever leaving the island all their entire lives. So what happens in case one dies? My friend, in case one dies, that's the only time you get a chance to leave the island. But why is this only at this time? How come it's only after your death that you have a chance to leave the island? My friend, this is because there are no cemetery or burial places on the entire Santa Cruz Island. But what creates this situation, my friend? Definitely because at the moment the island is so crowded to the extent that they can never find any burial land. Let's further ask ourselves, on an island that is this crowded, what does it have to take? How do they actually treat their rubbish, and what is the narrative around the trash management? For example, take a trip in America. Landfills and incinerators are used to ensure that the trash and the rubbish is well managed. But what is the situation a world away on the island of Santa Cruz? My friend, Santa Cruz is an island where trash has been declared as one of the biggest problems. My friend, it's very well known that trash is one of the biggest problems of the entire island. Therefore, it's very common you find smelly trash and house flies everywhere on the streets of Santa Cruz Island. Well, let's further ask ourselves, how do you think in the end this trash is disposed of? My friend, this is of no doubt all the trash ends up in the seawater. Wow. Let's further investigate the situation of power supply on our tiny island, Santa Cruz. My friend, for example, in America, fossil fuel, nuclear power, wind power, etc. are the major sources of electricity. But how is it like to get some electricity on the world's most crowded island of Santa Cruz? My friend, how is even power getting supplied on the island? Is there any electricity being generated at all? My friend, suddenly there are few solar batteries. The few solar batteries are the only source of electricity, my friend. But let's further investigate, let's further ask ourselves, do these solar batteries produce sufficient electricity for the entire island? My friend, no. Instead, electricity is provided in between the few hours of the night only. Further, sometimes the entire island goes for up to 4 days without electricity. So therefore, how do people survive during the nights in such days? Well, little candles, mobile phone torches become the only source of light during such dark nights. In fact, there are no fresh vegetables because there isn't enough electricity to keep them freshly refrigerated. Yes, we are already aware that a majority of the population of the Santa Cruz Island are children. Then let's further ask ourselves, what is the education system like on the tiny island of Santa Cruz despite their high population density? My friend, for example, this research was able to find out that America has about 5,300 universities and colleges. But what is it like on the island of Santa Cruz? How many education systems, or are there any education systems or schools on the entire island, my friend? And what are the highest levels of education on Santa Cruz Island? My friend, most of the children only get to stop schooling as long as they finish primary education. But why is this the reason? How come everyone literally is stopping at the primary level education? My friend, sadly, most of the parents don't have sufficient money to take their children to the mainland for further education. But how about the number of teachers on the Santa Cruz Island? My friend, even though this research found out that there are about 400 students on the entire island or the entire town has got only 2 teachers. And do you think the 2 teachers are enough for all the 400 children? My friend, sadly the obvious answer is no, my friend. So what are the dreams like? What do the children at the Santa Cruz Island dream of being, my friend? Most of the children, they dream of becoming soccer players irrespective of being a girl or the boy, and most of them, they dream of playing in clubs like like Madrid, they dream of playing in places like Argentina and Palestine. Therefore, my friend, may the Lord listen to the prayers of these little children and have them answered. Like the way we have already seen, the Santa Cruz Island is full of many surprises and wonders amidst all its overcrowdedness and also amidst all its challenges. But what is the situation like when it comes to the tourism industry at Santa Cruz Island? For example, on the other side of the coin, America gets to receive about 66.5 million tourists in a year. So let's take a look at the situation of tourism when it comes to the Santa Cruz Island, my friend. But how is the situation in the first place? Well, the island gets to receive hundreds of tourists every year and every day. These tourists are seen as a blessing from God by the locals of Santa Cruz Island. For instance, how much do you think a tourist will get to pay as an entrance fee to the Santa Cruz Island? Well, each tourist gets to pay about $2.5 as an entrance fee. But what actually attracts these tourists on the island of Santa Cruz? Sharks, sea turtles, and other creatures are the most famous tourist attractions on the island. So my friend, with all this high population, with all these challenges, what do you think is the security status of Santa Cruz town or the Santa Cruz Island, my friend? On the other side, why we get to see that America alone has got 1.2 million law enforcement officers, but the situation on the Santa Cruz Island is a bit different and kindly shocking. Therefore, my friend, well, on the entire island there is not even a single policeman. But how do they manage their security concerns, my friend? Surprisingly, most of the people know each other, and hence you can hardly find any robbery. Instead, the elders get to talk to those who try to attempt to misbehave, and then they become royal citizens again. Therefore, the elder adults, instead, they play the role of the police on the entire island. Yes, it's very clear now that Santa Cruz is the most crowded island in the entire world. But what do you think are the other challenges such areas get to face? Let us know using the comment section. At the moment, we thank you for making it this far, and we still remind you to hit the like and subscribe button for such and more growth-minded discussions like this. For now, we wish you love, peace, and good health. Don't forget to follow and find out more videos on this channel.